Greetings, everyone. Welcome to the Why Ukraine live stream. This is the first time I've done a Monday stream in a long time. So, I don't blame you if you're not here. But if you are here, welcome. It wasn't me, and Frag, thank you for coming. Interesting. Oh, Mitch, wonderful. For those of you who haven't been to my stream before, I'm an American, and I live in Ukraine. And this is my live stream just to do what I can to try and help the country where I live and that I love. Robert, Lynn, KK's GG, thank you all for coming. It's truly wonderful to have you here. And it means a lot. It really means a lot. Those of you who can't be here but are watching later, I appreciate it. It wasn't me asked a question, or I guess made a statement yesterday about Chechnya and Grozny. And it wasn't me. I wanted to just apologize. I feel like I didn't do a good enough job addressing that issue. And I'm kind of watching things happen. I'm not ready to really talk about it with any authority yet. What's going on in Chechnya? It's a little bit. I'm not saying we can't talk about it. I'm just saying that I don't feel knowledgeable to my own satisfaction on the subject. So, but you guys, if you guys want to talk about it, we can talk about what's happening in Russia right now with the potential fomentation of civil war. In any case, Salt of the Earth, Bell. Oh, it wasn't me. Said that wasn't me. Okay, maybe it was someone else, and I've forgotten who it was. Someone was asking about this, and I just apologize for this, and because it's I'm obviously more concerned about this, and you guys tell me what you think. North Korean soldiers training in Russia. That to me speaks like, we've joked about it before, and I think it's entirely possible that the North Koreans, when they get here, their first taste of borscht or whatever, they'll be just like, screw North Korea, but I think that I think that the fact that they are several thousand North Korean soldiers training in Russia. The Institute for the Study of War has reported North Korean soldiers are already fighting in Ukraine. And we know that because some of them have died already, at least officers. But I think that was more like a, just a very small force, kind of a test, toe in the water situation. But now the fact that they are several thousand are undergoing training. So in other words, to be able to cooperate with the Russian armed forces in a way. Cheryl, yeah, I can't imagine how early it is there in Arizona. Yes, all right, and Salt of the Red Earth, thank you for bringing this up. The U.S., in the meantime, is sending defense systems and troops, to Israel. At what point do we say, okay, we're not going to leave Ukraine hanging anymore? Ukraine's not just fighting one country, it's fighting two countries' armies, plus Iran's drones, plus China's everything. Where are our red lines? Why didn't anyone in it's 8:38 in Arizona? That's not so bad. I'm so sick and tired of hearing about Russia's red lines. Oh, we got to be afraid of Russia. Where are our red lines? That's the thing. And at what point do, several thousand North Korean soldiers invading Ukraine, shouldn't that cross somebody's red line somewhere? And I'm sure that, it talks about here the officers. Of course, there were the officers who were killed last week. The North Korean officers who were killed by Ukrainian drones or something. Yeah, Frag. There should have been a red line from Ukraine and NATO about foreign troops hitting Russia. Every time the West doesn't react, it's aiding and abetting. It's this whole, de-escalation appeasement strategy is having the opposite effect. And again, this goes to the picture, the thumbnail. Okay, the thumbnail that I had for this live stream, which is a picture of a drone with a munition attached to it, and it says, "Coming to a politician near you." And I discussed this yesterday, that the consequence of dragging this war out and not helping Ukraine in the way that we should have is that now Ukraine has developed this whole new drone technology that other countries are going to have to worry about because it's going to spread. So, I'm not afraid of these North Koreans, but it's just more meat for the grinder, Yeah, Ronnie, I think you mentioned that yesterday, calling about a united army for the EU. I'm sorry. You wrote EMP, and I didn't realize that you meant European members of Parliament. I thought you meant electromagnetic pulses. It took me a minute to grok that. So yeah, Macron has talked about this united army for the EU. Maybe that's good, maybe that's bad. What repercussions does that have down the road, with the breakdown of the international order, with going back to a place where we have different empires essentially, fighting back and forth, and never anything like peace, and it's short-term thinking. That's hang on, get this out of the way. My God. Actually, there's something that I want to bring up from that folder, so I'll save it for later. All we have is this article. This is the only news we have on the subject. So, maybe I'm blowing it out of proportion. Maybe several thousand. The several thousand is not going to make such a big difference. But on paper, at least, North Korea has like the second or third largest army in the world, because everyone is forced to serve. So, but yeah, so Zelensky's saying it, and so it's just a matter of time before we start to see, like, en masse large numbers of these North Koreans, I'm going to talk. The main subject that I want to talk about today is talk about Russian propaganda here in Ukraine and its effects. But before we get to that, I'd like to speak briefly about this, and I know I've brought it up a couple of times, and I want to Seppo, I saw a YouTube video of North Korean pilots in cardboard planes for a parade. Yeah, okay, yeah, Mr. Squiggle. 6 North Koreans were said to be officers, technical officers, yeah. Yeah, North Korea has the problem of them coming back if not used in human waves attacks. I mean, I'm sure that what Russia and North Korea have had to plan is how do we keep them from just surrendering as quickly as possible. You know, I'm sure that's what their technical planning has been. You know. Yeah, North Koreans can march into the meat grinder. Ronnie, that's about right. So then, now the flip side of that, in terms of what's going on in the Ukrainian army, thanks to a new law in Ukraine, foreigners will be able to serve as officers in the armed forces and the National Guard. Now, one of you brought this up last week, and I wasn't quite ready to talk about it. But I want to talk about where this is potentially going to go. Foreigners serving as officers in the armed forces. I'm interested in what you guys think, honestly. And if you're watching this after the live stream, I'd appreciate your comments on the subject, especially if you happen to be someone serving or who has served in like the International Legion or the Army, something of that nature. Here's my question to you. If you are someone who is serving or has served in the Ukrainian Army or International Legion, would you consider coming back to Ukraine? Would you consider, like, if you have left, so if we're talking past tense. Oh, hey, Flo. Oh, thanks for joining. Yeah. Sorry it's so early. I've kind of been all over the place with the schedule. I have an early trip I have to take tomorrow, so I had to do this early, basically. But so the question is, would you consider coming back? Would you, maybe you left Ukraine because you finished, you didn't want to fight anymore, got injured, you got fed up with the stupid, International Legion drama. All of those are legitimate reasons, right? But, I feel like maybe some foreigners who have served in Ukraine left because they didn't see a long-term future in serving in Ukraine. Like, if you can never get above sergeant, or they saw problems and felt like it could never been changed. They could never. I've seen this frustration from not just from foreigners serving, but Ukrainians serving in the armed forces. That things need to change, and I think that those changes are happening. Those changes are coming. So what I'm wondering, what I'm asking you, is, would you consider coming back to the armed forces with the idea that you could? I mean, I don't know. Maybe this might cause, at least within the International Legion, I don't know. I'll have to talk to people. I haven't spoken to anyone about this specific subject yet, but I will. This might create a situation where guys can join the Legion, and if they were, a captain, or a lieutenant or something in whatever army they came from, they might join the Legion at that level, or at least be given a higher status. I mean, on an ad hoc basis, that kind of already happens in the International Legion. If you had any sort of, even like, if you were like an E7, E6, something like that in the U.S. Army, in any sort of vaguely leadership position, you would, in the International Legion, they would, from what I have seen and from what I've been told, they'll give you kind of like a squad leader position potentially, and see how you do. And if you do okay, then that might become permanent. That sort of a thing. Oh, hey, Scruffy. I just asked a really this is a question. Obviously you're not in the International Legion, but this is a question for everyone to kind of think about. Do you think that is a possibility? Now, think about this a year from now, 2 years from now. So far, the total number of foreigners serving in the Ukrainian armed forces, I don't know what the total number is, but if it's above 20,000, I'd be surprised. To be honest, I don't know, but that's my shot in the dark. Oh yes, Lynn, that's true. My girlfriend's hubby was told unless he signed a contract, he wouldn't be promoted. Yeah, so that applies to those who are mobilized. So if you are drafted, basically, if you're drafted, you're only drafted for, there's a term. I think, I don't know if it's like till the war ends or for 2 years or something like that. And yeah, you cannot, you don't really, it's pretty unlikely that you will get promoted, certainly not to officer level. Okay. That said, I happen to have a friend who is a draftee and is serving currently, and he just got promoted. And he was super stoked about it. And he was kind of surprised because he is a Mobic, as they call them here. So it's not unheard of. He wasn't promoted to like officer level or something, more like a squad leader of the guards or something like that. Yeah. Oh, he joined on his own. Okay, Lynn. Yeah, but that's true though. Basically, if you don't sign a contract, and that's true. So foreigners here have only been, and this brings me to my next thing. Foreigners here have only been obligated, if they do sign contracts under the law that was passed in May. They're only required to serve for 6 months if they do sign a contract. I do wonder if effectively this foreigners will be able to serve as officer in the armed forces. This new law, I wonder if effectively it will be the same situation. Lynn, in other words, for foreigners who actually sign a contract, I have a feeling that the policy will be, you can't just sign a 6-month contract. You have to sign like a longer term contract, like a 2-year contract or something of that. Okay, KSGG, thank you for, it's okay to just follow and listen and, pipe in when you have something. And yeah, Frag. So Frag says, sorry, but my opinion is it's better to integrate into the army, not into the Legion. Heretofore, that has been the case. And a lot a lot of folks would agree with you. And it turns out that that's what I'm going to be doing. Not from lack of trying. I was bound and set for the International Legion, and I am still supporting them. And I want to just make mention that since you kind of brought that up, Frag, I blame you for this. I am supporting here. Oh my gosh, you guys have bought a bunch of stuff. Okay, so I am supporting a unit in the International Legion it's a new training unit, and they are revising. Oh, Lynn, yeah. So I'm sorry, I apologize for going backwards, but Lynn, the contract they wanted him to sign had no term, so that's why he didn't sign it. Yeah, that's right. That's right. And the contract that I'm going to sign is probably I'm not going to sign a 6-month contract. I mean, I'll sign a non-limited contract. Scruffy, I think the Foreign Legion works better with Western leaders. Western thinking is so different with Mission Command. The regular army needs it also, but it relies heavily on combined arms to work. Yeah. I mean, so two different opinions, and I think that Scruffy, I had your opinion until I, went to the Legion and have continued to interact with lots of people from the International Legion and have seen what a freaking mess it has been, frankly. And that's why I'm talking about this, supporting this, because the group that we're supporting here to get this stuff, and you guys you bought the chair, and I know someone bought a whiteboard, and I put in for 3 whiteboards. And drones, somebody bought all the drones that we need. We only needed a certain number of drones. So now all we need is, I mean, honestly, 1 whiteboard is good enough, to be honest. I put in for 3 just because, I know how I like to teach, and I like to have like the maximum amount of whiteboardage that you can possibly have. But also it's just a good idea to have extra, right? So you can draw all your diagrams of where the troop movements are supposed to be, and then you can leave it up there. You don't have to erase it every time you want to draw something new. That's really important for long-term absorption of knowledge, basically. So that's why. I'm not going to wait though for I'm gonna do. Keith was kind of razzing me a little bit about not sending out your guys' orders, and I looked and I was like, oh my god, I haven't sent anything out in like, I don't want to say, it's been a little while. So I went through, and everything that I'm going to be sending out is sitting over there on a stool, hopefully this week. So you guys, stuff will be coming in the mail to you guys soon. Anyway, in any case, so all that's left here for this little fundraiser that we're doing are dry erase markers and the whiteboard. That's amazing, you guys. I didn't look at that until just now. So, but the idea behind all this is that what they're trying to do is reformat the training in the International Legion, and within their unit, make that become sort of a model for other units in the Legion that can't, to replicate moving forward. Just a iteration of improvement, So, but I mean, what you said, Scruffy, I think is what I would like to be able to say, in that the Foreign Legion works better with Western leaders. However, I have personally seen Western leaders in the International Legion literally, like, in front of all the troops in the barracks, like, had to be held back from physically beating each other. I mean, that kind of drama is what I'm talking about. So it was less than impressive, and that's just my own personal story. So I mean, I don't know. We can talk about that. We can talk about it. I just envision a situation in which a year from now, year and a half, 2 years from now, within the International Legion. Thank you, Frag. I envision the situation where within the International Legion, some of the guys who had experience and left because of drama or whatever the reason was come back. The right kind of actual officers come into the Legion, and they come in at their rank or similar, where they have the opportunity. And maybe in a year and a half, the International Legion, most of the officers, not all, but the majority, let's say, are NATO trained, experienced soldiers. And I think it'll be interesting to see. What occurs. And I think it's a real positive step. Yeah, Scruffy. I mean, there are a lot of things I can't talk about that I saw. I mean, there's a lot of good too. Okay, that I in the Legion, but it's kind of like they had to work with whoever showed up, because it's a volunteer situation, and they just some people lied about the experience that they had, and then also you have people from different, there's a lot of problems, and in the Legion is what I would say. And so unfortunately what Frag said, for the time being is the case. Yeah, Frag. And I've done entire live streams about the problems. But I still support them, and I have the utmost hope that things can get turned around. That's my story, and I'm sticking to it. One big thing about just general improvement. I don't need that. One big thing about just general improvement in the Ukrainian army that I want to just talk about briefly. This might seem like a very minor thing, but okay. So there's this app. The next version of the Army Plus application will have training courses and an electronic military ID. You have no idea how huge this is. Okay. So, this is in the Ukrainian army. So there's an application. It's called Army Plus. I think there's a one called Reserve Plus. Maybe. Let me see what the actual Ukrainian is. Yeah, Armia Plus, and then I think there's a Reserve Plus app. Maybe I'm getting them mixed up, but and so this is, all men. Oh yeah, here we go. The Reserve Plus application. Okay, so if you are a man in Ukraine above the age of 25, you have to be registered. It's like registering for the draft, and they converted over to this Reserve Plus application. I think this year. Wow, the recruiting service in the Reserve Plus application will become available in October 2024. Pretty interesting stuff. With this update, actual vacancies in military units will appear instead of just like, oh, I apply to see this. This is a big fear that all the Ukrainians who are left, the Ukrainian men and even with some women who haven't applied, is they're like, well, I'm an IT person. it would be stupid for me, and because I have personally heard like crazy horror stories, arguably horror stories. I don't know, maybe they're not really horrible, whatever. Anyway, about some guy with a lot of technical skill who, instead of those skills being utilized, he just gets handed a shovel, go dig. Or potentially even worse. One story I was told a few months ago was, a guy, he's like full stack programmer, okay? And his job is he works in some army office, and he has to physically like make checks on like a physical piece of paper, and write down like a log of who comes in and out of this particular army office, and that's all he does all day. And it's like, what a complete waste, a crazy waste, so this this is a major development, I think, and I think it will turn around a lot of the problems with regards to recruitment, because I know I talk a lot of shit about Ukrainians not, serving their country, or Ukrainians who don't. And I have a lot of disdain for that, me having applied, more than 10 times and fighting to get in, and these other guys are out there like doing everything they can to not get in. So it's annoying and frustrating to me. But I do understand when they say, well, okay, what does the army have for me? Right? Like, what good is it going to do me to join? In other words, forget about country and yada yada, all that type of stuff. What's it going to do for me? I don't share that view, obviously, but that has to do with, where people are at. I don't know if you guys have ever seen this, or if you're familiar with like Maslow's hierarchy. Okay, or so this is kind of Maslow's hierarchy combined with Kohlberg's theory of moral development, more or less combined with each other here. Kind of mapped out to each other. And frankly, most people are at this level down here: opportunist, impulsive, reflexive, survive, like the base of Maslow's pyramid. Maslow, right? So they're down here, and most people don't have the higher thinking up at these levels to start thinking about like social contract. It just doesn't exist. Oh, Scruffy. That's like a whole story. Like everybody, or a lot of people that have been with me since the beginning have probably heard that story like 10 times. So maybe I'll save it till the end. What's keeping me out? What has been keeping me out over the past year? I mean, the short version is, I went to I went to go and join the International Legion last year and got injured in training. And I've been in physical therapy for the past year. And what actually has stopped me from joining the International Legion is that I have a dislocated wrist still, and I can hang from a bar, but if I try to do a pull-up, I risk actually dislocating my wrist again. And for whatever reason, the International Legion, that is their one like hard line. Their hard line, you could be a criminal, you can be all these other things potentially, but if you can't do 4 pull-ups, they won't let you in. That's not a joke. I wish it were, but it's not. And I've I can show you the quote in Signal from my commander in the Legion. The commander of the training battalion. He was like, nope, if you can't do 4 pull-ups, you can't join. So, and before that, the issue was that I had no military experience and I don't speak good enough Ukrainian. I missed the boat in the first days. Dude, Scruffy, this is what I'm talking about. I can drag a wounded buddy with my right hand. I can hold a gun. I'm ambidextrous. I can fire and shoot with my left hand and carry something with my right. Anyway, it's bullshit. But anyway, now I've been told that I'm in. So I've been told that by the end of the month. And I just got a message from my recruiter. So after this live stream, I will check and see what's up. But anyway, the point is that these 2 improvements are going to make such a huge difference. And the Army app, yeah, thank you. Your trigger finger is more important than pull-ups. Yes. And it's my left hand that's dislocated. I'm ambidextrous, but I mainly use my right hand. It's not like, anyway. All right. I've gone off about this too many times. Anyway, the point is, something that is extraordinarily interesting in here is, where is it? Let's see if I can find it. Am I missing it? Maybe I'm missing the... Okay. Yeah, this is what I'm looking for. Okay. The next version of the Army Plus application will have training courses. So that's something that is really going to make a difference. And this is something that just recently, with a number of the soldiers I've spoken to, soldiers independently are like, hey, while I'm in the Army, I don't want to be wasting time. I'm losing time in my career, in my regular job. And let's face it, 90% of war is sitting around waiting, waiting for something to happen. And why not educate yourself? So some of the like I said, the soldiers who I have been speaking with they're actually making plans to organize their own schools or universities within and by and for Ukrainian soldiers. Like, I got one guy he's looking for PhDs so they can file, become an official university. I got another one who's pulling together like discussions groups, and they want to have soldiers sit around and talk about philosophy and ethics. I know that sounds crazy, but like, can you imagine Russian soldiers doing that? Like saying, yeah, we really want to get together some PhDs while we're in the army so we can start a university and talk about philosophy and ethics and technical training and engineering. Well, yeah, I mean, yeah, that's okay. So, Frag, you're talking about. I mean, I think that the training module where it's starting here. I don't want to get too much ahead of myself. It says a training module with basic information about military affairs, which has already been agreed with General Staff of the Armed Forces. This means that at the most basic level, everybody kind of gets the same information. And this has been a huge problem in the Ukrainian army because it's been so, ad hoc and pulled together, in the middle of a war, building the railroad tracks while the train's coming down, kind of a thing. So wait, did you say Dugan University? They exist? Is there really a Dugan University? Classic. Ugh. Of course. Anyway, the point is that this is a start in this online application. This is a start for the kind of educational opportunities that occur in the American Army, right? So, and correct me if I'm wrong. Those of you, and I'm not a veteran of the U.S. Army or Armed Forces. Oh, hello, Ken. Thanks for coming. I'm not a veteran of the American Armed Forces, but my brothers are. And in one case, one of my brothers, for reasons, let's just say my family is kind of all over the place, all over the country, and it's a long and storied history. So I did not grow up with my brothers. Let's put it that way. Okay. We did not have the same mothers. Okay. Brothers from another mother, literally. So, so my younger brothers, in one case, they went and joined the armed forces. I won't say which branch because I don't. There are reasons that I need to keep some of this stuff private. But so my brother joined the armed forces, and they tested him, with the ASVAB, and he, I don't know how he passed his GED, but he was homeschooled. Okay, he was homeschooled and basically could just barely read. I'm actually bigly I'm bigly in favor of homeschooling, but not if your kids can't read when they come out the end of it. Let's see. This is interesting. Flo says, when my brother was in the army, they were gathered and asked if anyone could type. He raised his hand. That is how he learned how to drive a deuce and a half. I'm not sure what a deuce and a half is. Ukraine has no monopoly on misusing talent. For sure. So my brother, when he first joined the armed forces, he scored so low on his ASVAB that all they would allow him to do was be a cook in Iraq. And he spent 7 years peeling potatoes, right? But every day of those 7 years, he took advantage of every single educational opportunity that his branch of the armed forces offered him. And in his little, air-conditioned trailer in Iraq there. Oh, hey, Scruffy, you are a member. You're an ally of Ukraine now. Did you know? By the way, Ken, thank you so much. It's amazing. Oh, a 2.5 ton truck. Oh, because he could type? I'm not sure what. Yeah, Bill. My family sounds a bit like yours. Oh, is half your family black, Bill? That's interesting. Didn't know that about you. In any case, 7 years of being in the armed forces in Iraq, and they let him take the ASVAB again. I think it was like 7 years. Let him take the ASVAB again, and he went from being so low he could barely peel potatoes to a 98th percentile. And they said, what do you want to do? Do whatever you want, And he's an officer now. I can't tell you what he does, but it's something that takes a lot of brains. Oh, Scruffy. Yeah, no, Ken, UTV and Ham, there, was nice enough to buy you a membership. That's what happened there. Scruffy. Sebel, my brother in the army moved vehicles from one end of the base to the other. I used to think that it wasn't important, but then Russia showed me what happens when you don't have people to do that. Yeah, that's a fair point. When they tried to drive to Kyiv and half the Russian vehicles' tires popped because they'd been sitting in one place for too long. That's a fair point. Well, Ken, thank you so much for coming and just popping in and buying 5 memberships. It's very nice of you. I hope you have a wonderful day. So anyway, I think that, this fills me with a lot of positive feelings, guys. This whole thing about, foreign officers, this education stuff, the Army app, I think it's really positive. Yeah. So now I want to talk about this. Where Ukrainians get their news. And this is the reason this came up to me is because once again, a Ukrainian came to me, and this was someone who I like very much, who I trust, who I have been friends with for the better part of this year, and who I know, works every single day as hard as he possibly can to help Ukraine and Ukraine's soldiers. And he came to me once again. I got this question: James, can Trump really end the war in 24 hours? That's, and I talked about this before. I had this question again. And then it's followed up with a question of when will the war end? Okay. And first of all, I said, no, Trump cannot end the war in 24 hours. And I brought up the same thing as I had before. Where I had to explain that Trump will, Trump will end the war in 24 hours by selling Ukraine out, selling Ukraine under the bus, to mix the metaphors. And trying to get Ukrainians to understand that. And once again, though, key feature that is popping out to me when I get hit with this obvious Russian propaganda stuff is the people come at me with these questions, and they're honest questions. They're honestly asking these questions. They're Russian speakers, almost exclusively Russian speakers, And so it made me think, and I was speaking with a BBC journalist a few weeks ago about this particular issue, and he said he referred to this Reuters, I think it's Reuters report. This report, 72% of Ukrainians use social media for their news. So there is public demand for good journalism that is impartial, objective, and professional. A majority, 65%, believe they already access this type of journalism. But obviously, there's a lot of lies and conspiracy theories. People do not trust the mainstream media here because there's a long history of mainstream media being owned by oligarchs to the point of, and to hear Ukrainians tell it, the the TV channel is basically like, whoever the oligarch is, like every other report is about something that this oligarch has done that's really great. Like I don't remember all the names, but so this has turned Ukrainians off so much to the media that they only almost exclusively pay attention to social media, and they don't use Facebook. They don't use they use Telegram. And so it's very interesting to me that the ones who speak Russian almost exclusively are the ones who are coming at me with this weird crap. And then my friend came at me with this question. And I think I understood it correctly because I was having to use Google Translate on this, okay? He asked, when will Ukraine stop being a U.S. colony? Think about that. When will Ukraine stop being a colony of the United States? And as soon as I heard that, I was like, oh, I know where this is coming from. I've seen that bullshit from bots, from trolls in my own. And that's immediately what I said was, Ronnie, that's very Berlusconi of them. Yeah, it's exactly. So, I I immediately said to my friend, I was like, yeah, I hear exactly that from trolls and bots. And so then I had to go over, like, the problem is to combat these types of lies. I had to go over the whole history, going all the way back to Maidan, of like, listen, the only thing that the Maidan protesters got from America was some croissants. Okay? That was the extent of our help in Maidan. And then I had to KKGG colony, I think they're a bit behind on their taxes. Exactly. And I had to explain, listen to me, my dude. Most Americans don't care about Ukraine. They don't even think about Ukraine. The only reason that any Americans do at the minimal level that they think about Ukraine is just because they're thinking about the hardship and suffering that Ukrainians are feeling, or because they see, YouTube videos from people like me popping up, and that forces them to think about Ukraine, or YouTube shorts, which I need to go and churn out a whole bunch of shorts. This past month, I haven't had time to do the shorts that I do. I understand that, putting out short videos on YouTube gets me a lot of subscribers, but those people never watch live streams. The only reason I put out shorts is because every once in a while, I get like a banger. Most of them, though, they get like 400 or 500 views. But the way I think about it is that's 400 or 500 people who have never watched one of my videos before and never watched one of my shorts before. It's 400 or 500 new people who I'm forcing basically. Sometimes I do it in really sneaky ways, forcing to think about Ukraine, and I can see on YouTube Studio where these people are from, what countries they're in a general sense, not on an individual sense. And I had to explain to him like Americans don't give a rat's ass about Ukraine. And as soon as this war's over, cares. That's the thing. Like Russians, though, too, all they think about is America, and so they assume that Americans must be thinking about them, and that's just not true. Uh, Mitch, most Americans don't know where Canada is, let alone Ukraine. Yes. You know what, Seppo? I thought about, and I may have the opportunity to tell them about actual American colonies like Puerto Rico, American Samoa, Guam. We don't even think about them, you know? Yeah. Yeah, Scruffy. It was the same thing during World War I and World War II. Europe is too far away from the U.S. And, yeah, it's why Europe doesn't care about conflicts in Africa. Yeah, it is. It is human nature. Again, going back to this little psychological chart here, 90% of people are down in these bottom areas, okay, not thinking about the world at large. Anything like that. I mean, you guys are up here. You guys have got to at least be in the 4, 5, 6 range just to be here watching this stuff. You know what I mean? Speaking about Maslow's hierarchy and Kohlberg's theory of moral development is what I'm referring to. That's what this chart is kind of expanding upon. Like George Carlin observed, it's scary to think that half of all people are of below average intelligence. Okay, look, but I love some of those people, and sometimes some of those people are the kind of people who, take care of things. The people who do the things that we need in our daily lives. And yeah, Ronnie, you're right. That's right. Me. That it's that mentality, and a lot of people never get beyond that. And we can't expect that they will. Yeah, they exist exactly. So this is a big reason why changing over to the Ukrainian language is so important. Ukraine needs to actively do something in these Telegram groups, some of them are private or whatever, but essentially there's no way really to tell who is in your Telegram group or where they are from. And it's very easy for you might have just like on the Discord, on our Discord for the Why Ukraine Discord, the Last Alliance is what it's called. I have to be very careful. I have to go through every once in a while and prune. I've only had to do that a few times to prune out actual Russian trolls. I don't mean people I have to ban for bad behavior temporarily. Not mentioning anyone. But I mean, honestly, how do I say this? Telegram has less tools for that. I mean, yes, it's not so much that it's still Russian. It's that the way it's structured, there's just not a lot of security. These, Telegram groups. I mean, heck, I can bring up my Telegram here, and I'll just show you I don't know, some random. Okay, so here's the Telegram group for reporting from Ukraine in English, and this is a group that it's all it is doing is I can't comment here. All I can do is make reactions, and then there might be other groups where. Okay, let's take this one. This is from one of my schools. Okay, and this is kind of how teachers, like entire companies, it's like Slack, you know, but there's 33 members, and who is uh monitoring who's in here, you know? How do you know these people in this group are all safe people? I mean, that is dependent on the owner of the group and the curator of the group, and it's very easy for one bad apple to get in there. Oh, you know they exist. Yeah, I apologize for that. I have had to I've had to go and disable. So Restream has an AI or automatic. Hang on, wrong window. Restream has a moderator. I don't have any moderators. Restream has a moderator, and YouTube has a moderator in the chat where it blocks. Yeah, Streamlabs comments on live stream. Yeah, AI censor. Yeah, Restream has the same thing, and I've gone and disabled it. But I guess maybe if I get the paid version, I can disable it permanently. Every time I start a new stream, I have to go and disable it again, and I forgot this time. So I apologize. You know they exist. By the way, it wasn't me. I got you mixed up with you know they exist. That's what was happening. You know they exist. At the beginning of the stream, if you scroll back to the beginning, I was talking about your question statement yesterday about Georgia. No, damn it, not Georgia. Chechnya, and what's going on there with Kadyrov and all of that. And I felt like my response to your statement was less than fulfilling, let's say. And so I just want you to know that I'm thinking about it and doing research on it. And before I come out with something, I want to kind of let it cook a little bit. So just know that I'm thinking about your statement. And anyway, let's see. Scruffy says there might be a video on YouTube talking about OPSEC and talking with Ukrainian soldiers online. You never know, might be worth a watch. I've watched many of those. But yeah, so the thing about Telegram is it can potentially be very, very insecure depending on the group, and it just you just don't know exactly what you're dealing with, and thereby I think that's where a lot of this is coming from, with this crazy propaganda, and the fact that I've had it from like 3 separate individuals, all of them Russian speaking Ukrainians, tells me that there's some YouTube channel, Telegram channel, maybe YouTube channel too, out there who's pushing this narrative, And so what I came back to my friend with was, listen, this narrative of when will Ukraine stop being a colony of the US, and this kind of concept that if Ukraine isn't a colony of the US, then it'll be a colony of Russia. You're denying the Ukraine's own agency and power, and ultimately your own agency and power. And this is a big thing that I try to help Ukrainians to understand. And so what I did was I used the example of Ireland. because I wanted to step away from any Eastern European countries or World War II or anything like that. I used the example of Ireland and how Ireland, after the Troubles, when all of that shit was finished in the 90s, the Irish economy like just took off like a rocket, like 15% GDP growth per year for like 15 years, from like 1990 to 2005. And by 2005, Ireland had like 1% unemployment. And now the problem is that it's the opposite, right? Is that the cost of living is high, and you got all these, you got gentrification and all of this stuff. And it's the opposite of the problem that Ireland had in, let's say, 1990, where you could, buy a house in Ireland for a nickel and a Snickers bar or something. And so I said, listen, as soon as the lid is off, as soon as this war is done or roughly done, Ukraine is going to come screaming back. And the people who left Ukraine are going to regret having done so. So that's my feeling on it. They exist. Chechnya, ability to resist or defeat Russians. What was the secret of their success? Yeah. Wizard of Oz said they did a surprise assault on Russians in the first war, kicked butt. Second war, Grozny fell, etc. Yeah. Thank you for bringing it up. I just want you to know that it's churning around in the back of my head, and it'll come up in a future topic, future live stream topic. I mean, I know the basics. I know the basics about, especially like in the first Chechen war, the Russians tried to just kind of zoom in with their tanks into the middle of Grozny, and the tanks couldn't shoot at a high enough angle to take out the anti-tank missiles that were raining down on them from Chechen fighters. I think that's the war I'm thinking of. But then in the second Chechen war, the Russians just kind of sat outside and leveled Grozny to the ground and didn't drive their tanks into the urban area. That's the short version of that, but I think there's more to it. And I want to couple that discussion with a discussion about the possibility, the propensity for this new Chechen conflict with Kadyrov to branch out into a wider like civil war in Russia, is kind of what I'm getting at. So yeah, guys, that's what I wanted to talk about today. I apologize if it's mostly positive stuff, because I know there's a lot of horrible crap happening. Okay, I know that, and we all know that, and it's really hard for everybody. But there are good things coming, is what I would say, and that's the point that I said to my friend on Saturday too, is that I believe that Ukraine can win, will win, must win. And if America wants to help in that, regardless of what Mike Johnson, that snake, has to say, okay, Ukraine is going to win. It's just the question is, on the other side of this, where does America want to be? Where do Americans want to be? So I hope that America makes the right choice this November. And with that, guys, thank you so much. I'm probably not going to do a live stream tomorrow night, but I plan to do something Wednesday night. I might do a collaboration with another YouTuber. We shall see. Look out for that. And but certainly Thursday. I think Thursday. Certainly Thursday night. I'll do something. So thank you all for coming. Support Ukrainian if you can in any way you can. And Slava Ukraine, everybody. До побачення.